So, as a part of the last session, we have seen as a part of the last session, we have seen how does a bundle gets deployed into the AEM console. So, in the system console bundles, we have seen the implementation how it is. So, what is the bundle life cycle here? What is the life cycle of a bundle? So, life cycle of a bundle involves in several steps, right? So, first is nothing but install state, and then result, and then starting, which is an optional, and then active and then stop, so which is optional, and then after we are having uninstall. So this is the life cycle of a bundle. So when it comes to OSGi, so basically in the back end whatever we are creating, so everything is a part of OSGi only. So we have two things majorly we have to focus on. So one is OSGi components and second one is OSGi services. Okay, so OSGi component and services. So this OSGi component and OSGi services are nothing but same. Okay, so first these are nothing but the Java classes. So, but there is a difference between the OSGi components and OSGi services and the Java classes. Okay, so Java classes means they are normal Java classes. But when it comes to an OSGi service or OSGi component, so they have an ability to listen to the service lifecycle events. Okay, so this OSGi components and OSGi services have an ability to listen to the service lifecycle events. So these service lifecycle events are nothing but So these service lifecycle events are nothing but activate, deactivate, and then modify. So these are the different service lifecycle events we are having. So activate and then deactivate and then modify. So these are the different lifecycle events. So and then we can also send the dynamic configurations, or we can also create a OSGI configurations, or we can also pass the dynamic content to the backend as well. So with the help of the OSGI components and OSGI config manager, so we can send the dynamic data inside these components and services. Okay, so these are OSGI configuration, OSGI configurations. So with the help of OSGI configurations, we can send the dynamic data into the backend components, into the OSGI components. So these are the major advantages when you are going for the OSGI services. One thing is they listen to the service lifecycle events, which is nothing but activate, deactivate, and modify. And then they will listen to the then we can also pass the dynamic content into the OSGI. Okay, so but here there is a difference between service lifecycle events and then bundle lifecycle. So if you go for bundle lifecycle, so if you go for bundle lifecycle, so bundle lifecycle consists of different steps. Okay, so first we are having install, and then second one we are having result, and then third one we are having starting, so which is an optional step, and then activate, and then stop, and then uninstall. So these are the different bundle life cycle steps we are having. So this bundle life cycle will be parallel to the service life cycle events. So our OSGI components and our OSGI services can listen to this bundle life cycle with the help of this activate with the help of the service life cycle events. Okay. So whenever we deploy the bundle and whenever the bundle goes into the active state, so at that time this activate event will trigger. Okay, whenever the bundle goes into the uninstall state, so at that case, deactivate method will trigger. So whenever we are trying to pass some dynamic data or dynamic configurations into the OSCI site cycle, so at that time, modified event will be triggered. Okay, so based on the bundle life cycle, these service life cycle event steps will be executed. When the bundle goes into the activate state, activate at the rate activate method will be executed, and then at the rate deactivate method will be executed, and at the rate modified will be executed when we are trying to pass the dynamic data. When the bundle goes into the uninstall state, so at that time deactivate method will be executed. So in this case, whenever we are passing these configurations, okay, so how to create this OSGI components or how to create these OSGI services. So this is the main thing. Okay, so in order to create these OSGI components, or in order to convert these components into an OSGI services, so Adobe has introduced OSGI has introduced one annotations called R7 annotations. So we have to follow this R7 annotations in order to create an OSGI components or OSGI services. So first annotation we are having is at the rate component. So with the help of this iterate component annotation, what we can do is, so we can convert your normal Java class into an OSGI component. So if you want to convert your normal Java class into an OSGI component, so then you have to go for this iterate component annotation. And then after that, to listen to the service lifecycle events, we are having multiple annotations, which is nothing but iterate activate, and then iterate deactivate, and then iterate modify. So with the help of these events, with the help of these three annotations, so we can listen to the service lifecycle event. So activate event, deactivate event, and modified event. So when these events will trigger based on the when these two events will be triggered, so based on the bundle lifecycle, these events will be triggered. So these are the first basic annotations we are having. So one is at the rate component, at the rate activate, at the rate deactivate, and at the rate modified. So these are the first four main annotations when it comes to R7 annotations. So after that, we are having multiple annotations. So at the rate designate is one annotation, and then at the rate object class definition is one annotation, and then at the rate reference is one annotation. So these are the different annotations we are having. So at the rate designate is used to designate as configuration to an OSGI component. So if you want to create any configurations, so at that time with the help of at the rate object class definition, we can create. So if you want to use one OSGI service in another OSGI service, so then with the help of at the rate reference annotation, we can do that. Okay. So now when it comes to this one, so we'll try to create one OSGI component, and then we'll see how to create and how the life cycle events will be performed. So as a part of the next session, we'll see how we can pass the dynamic configurations into these OSGI components. Okay. So to create these OSGI components, so inside the core module, we will be creating this OSGI components. So let's go there. So it will take some time to activate. So these are the different annotations we are having. So at the rate activate, deactivate, modify to listen to these three events. So if you want your OSGI components to listen to these three events, so then with the help of these three annotations, we can do that. So now whenever we are creating, so we are creating a normal Java class. Okay. So to convert your normal Java classes into an OSGI component, so at that time we have to use this at the rate component annotation. So in order to pass the dynamic configurations, to create the dynamic configurations, we'll be going for at the rate object class definition. So to specify this, whatever the configuration we are creating, so this configuration will not be created automatically. So we have to use this configuration in any of the service. So in order to use the configuration in the service, so we have to use at the rate designate is the annotations. Consider we are having multiple components, multiple OSGI components. So if you want to sync these OSGI components, or if you want to transfer the data in between these OSGI components, so then with the help of iterate reference annotation, we can do that. So basically we can connect the OSGI components, we can transfer the OSGI components data with the help of this iterate reference is the annotation. So just go inside this one, and then core, and then source, main, and then here you have to create one package called OSGi. So if you are not having a package, so just try to create a package. If the package is already available, you can use the existing one. Okay, so just try to create one package here, OSGi, and then we'll try to create one class. So Marvel details is one OSGI class is the normal Java class we have created under the package. OSGI package is one we have created. Inside that package, we have created one class which is nothing but Marvel details is the class. Okay. So now this is a normal Java class. So this normal Java class, we have to convert that into an OSGI component because we are discussing the OSGI components. We have to convert that into an OSGI component, and every backend service in most of the cases are OSGI components or OSGI services. Okay, so to convert this class into an OSGI component, so here we have to use one annotation, that is at thread component is the annotation we are having. So always the input should be org OSGI service component dot annotation should be the input. So at thread component is the annotation, and then after that inside this component, so here we can pass one more property which is called as an immediate equals to true. So what does it mean by the immediate equals to true? So whenever we build this project or whenever we deploy this particular class, so then the bundle goes into the active state. Okay, the bundle goes into the activate state. So when the bundle goes into the activate state, so automatically I want this class to be start executing. Okay, so this class should be working automatically immediately after the bundle gets activated. So at that time, here we have to pass this property, that is immediate equals to true. So once done, so now we'll listen to the lifecycle events. So create one method. So public void activate is one method I am creating. So this is not about the method name. So the method name can be anything. So if I'm creating my name or if I'm creating the search as well, so it will take the method name. But if you are annotating this method with at the rate activate annotation, so at that time, this whenever the bundle goes into the active state, so this activate method will be executed automatically. Okay. So the annotation is important. It's not about the method name. So similarly, we can also do for at the rate deactivate as well. So at the rate deactivate, so void public void deactivate is one more method we are creating. So samely, whenever the user sends the dynamic configuration, so at that time we can use the at the rate modified annotation. So when the user is saving some configurations, so at that time we can listen to this modified event. So as a part of the next session, you'll see how the modified event works and then how we can send the data, how we can send the dynamic data into this modified event or into the OSGI components. Okay, so now we'll try to write some messages. So here, so suppose if I want to, if I'm working on Java, so how we'll be writing so whether the method is executing or not, whether a particular action has been completed or not. So we can check that with the help of the console. So inside the console, we'll be writing system.out.println statement. So at that time, it will print on the console. But whenever we are working on the AM, so we should not write. So for the debugging purpose, we should not write the system statements. Okay, so AEM has provided its own debugger, which is called as an logger files. So inside the logger files, we can track all the debug units, or if you want to write any messages as well. So we have to use that predefined debugger with the help of the AEM only. Okay, so we have to create that logger file inside my class. So in order to create the logger file, so I'll just create the logger file. So always the input should be org/slf4j should be the input of the logger. Okay, so this is the input and then create an object for this one. Okay, so log is the object I have created. So in order to create an object, we don't have any new keyword. or we don't have anything. So when it comes to the logger files, here we have one more method called as an logger factory. So here we are having one class, that is logger factory is the class name, and then it has one method called as an create logger. Okay, so logger factory dot get logger is the method we are having. So with the help of this get logger method, so we can create a logger file. So here it is accepting one parameter. So this parameter is nothing but we have to pass the name of the class. So what is the name of the class? Marvel details is the name of the class. So you have to select this Marvel details and then get logger. So Marvel details dot class. Okay. So inside the so now inside the loggers, so it will create a logger with this particular class name. So whatever the events, whatever the log messages we are writing, so these log messages will come under this class name, that is Marvel details is the class name we are having. So in order to write the messages, so here inside the log we have one method that is called as an info. So log.info, and then whatever the message we want to write, so simply we can write the message inside this log file. Okay, so simply we'll write inside the activate method. Okay, so inside the activate method and inside the deactivate method, so this event will not trigger because we are not passing any dynamic configuration, so will not trigger this event. Okay, so other events will be triggered whenever the bundle goes into the activate state. When the bundle goes into the deactivate state, so at that time it will execute the deactivate method. So now we are writing these log messages. So where can I get these log messages, or where can we find these log messages? So in order to find these log messages, you can find this log message. The loggers will store in your jar file. Okay, so go to your jar file where you have created the jar file, and then here we have an option of crx quick start. So go inside crx quick start, and then here we have an option of logs. So go inside logs, and inside the logs we'll have the error dot log file. So with the help of error dot log file, we can easily track the error messages which your project is throwing. So you can log messages which your project is throwing. Okay, so edit with Notepad Express. Okay, so now once you have opened the logins, so now we can just deploy the project and then you can check it. Okay, so in order to deploy the project, change the directory. So I'm only deploying the bundle core module because we have made only changes in the backend file. Okay, so go there and try to deploy the core module. So what is the command? MVN clean install -p auto install bundle. Okay, so bundle is the command you have to use in order to send the dynamic data into the, sorry, in order to build the project. Okay, only the core module if you want to build, so we have to use this -p auto install bundle command. Okay, so now the build is success. So now try to go to the log files and check whether the class has been executed or not. So for the first time, we'll see only the activate method will be executed, because whenever we are deploying, so this class is a newly created class. Okay, that means previously in the previous version of the bundle, so this class is not available. So without this class is not available, whenever the bundle is deactivating, the deactivate method will not be executed because the class is not available. Okay, so for the first time, whenever we are deploying the project, so or the first time when we are adding this class, so the deactivate method will not be executed. Okay, only the activate method will be executed. So you can just go there and search for your class name. Okay, so it says that inside the activate method. So this is the name of the class we have created. So com search marvel core OSGi marvel details, and then it says inside the activate method. Suppose if I try to get this message inside the deactivate method, and if I try to execute this, if I try to search for this method name, so this method name cannot be found because, as I told you before, so this is a fresh class we have installed inside the OSGi bundle. Okay, inside the core bundle, we have this is the fresh class we have installed. So the deactivate method, when it will be executed, so whenever we are having the deactivate method, so this deactivate method will be executed after whenever the bundle goes into the uninstalled state. So in the previous version of the bundle, when the bundle is going into the uninstalled state, so at that case, inside the bundle, we don't have the class called Marvel details. Okay, but this will be executed only when the bundle goes into the uninstalled state. And in the previous bundle, when the bundle goes into the uninstalled state, so at that time this class is not available. So that's why the deactivate method is not executed. And then the bundle now in the freshly installed bundle, so we have the class. So when the bundle goes into the active state, the activate method has been executed. So now if I try to uh, go there and if I try to check the error.log file again, okay, so inside the deactivate method, it is not there, right? So if I try to go there and if I try to redeploy it again, to open the log. So if you observe here, now inside the deactivate method has been executed. So first after executing the deactivate method, so somewhere it will execute the uh, activate method because first the bundle goes into the uninstalled state, right? When the bundle goes into the uninstalled state, so at that time the deactivate method will be executed. So now our current bundle where it is, so right now it is in the active state. So whenever I try to again install it, so at that time stop and then uninstall will be executed first, and after that again the new bundle gets deployed. Okay, so first it will remove the old bundle and then now again new bundle gets deployed. So while deploying the new bundle, while removing the old bundle, so at that case we are executing this method when the uninstalled lifecycle event has met. So at that time this service lifecycle event at the rate deactivate will be executed. So whatever the methods you have annotated with this at the rate activate deactivate, so those will be executed according to the lifecycle of a bundle. So now if I try to create one more class, okay. So Marvel demo is one more class we are creating. Okay, so now in order to convert this into an OSGi service, what we need to use? Into an OSGi component, we have to use at the rate component is a annotation. And then immediate equals to true is the property we have to use. So we'll try to write the same things again here. We'll create the same methods and then we have to create an logger of. So try to input the logger file. OSGi select 4j should be the input of the logger, and in order to create the logger, we have to call the logger factory. So logger factory dot get logger, and then Marvel demo is the class we are having. So Marvel demo dot class. So now on this class name, the log files will be generated. So now in order to get the changes, we'll try to deploy it again. So now what files will be executed first? Okay. So first it will execute the deactivate method of the Marvel details class, and then after that it will execute the activate method of the Marvel detail class. Simultaneously, it will execute the activate method of the Marvel demo class. But the deactivate method of the Marvel demo class will not be executed. Why? Because in the previous version of the bundle, so this Marvel demo class does not exist. So that's why this inside deactivate method of Marvel demo will not be executed. Okay, so inside the deactivate method of the Marvel demo will not be executed. But if I go there and inside the activate method will be executed. Okay, inside the activate method of Marvel demo is executed, and inside the Marvel details also, the activate method has been executed. Suppose if we try to search for the deactivate method, so the deactivate method of the Marvel details class only will be executed. So other class will not be executed. Okay. So that is the major part of activate and deactivate. So that is how we can listen to the lifecycle events of an OSGi component. Okay. So that is how OSGi component can listen to the lifecycle events. So right now we have only created this life cycle method. So we for the activate, so these three are the service life cycle methods only. So if you want to create any custom methods inside the OSGI components as well, so we can create the custom method. So we'll try to create one method. So public void article. Okay, so this is one method we are creating. So Marvel article is one method we are creating, and then this Marvel article will try to return one message. So return, I'll return a string. Okay, so the return type should be string. Okay, so now we have created the method. So whatever the method we are having, so I want to call this method. So now this is Marvel string Marvel article method I am having. So this Marvel article method, I want to get this Marvel article method inside the Marvel demo class. Okay, so to call the method from this class, how we can call this method? How we can call the method from Marvel article into the Marvel demo. Sorry, how to call the method from Marvel details inside the Marvel demo. How to call it?
By creating object
By
instant
creating an
object.
object. By creating an object of the class, because it is an instance method, it's not a static method. So with the help of the object reference, we can we can call the method from this class. Okay. So now in order to create an object, so how we will be creating is so Marvel details is the class name, and then we'll be creating some object, right? So Marvel details is the object you are creating is equals to new Marvel details. So that is how we are creating an object, and then we will be calling the dot whatever the article or whatever the method you want to call. So you'll be calling the method like this. So but here we have a problem. Okay, so we can't create an object for these OSGI components or OSGI services. Okay, so we can't create an object for these classes because an object has been already created. Okay, the object has been already created and we have to use the existing object. So we cannot create an object for the Marvel classes with the help of the new keyword. It will not work. So how we can create an object? So how it will internally trigger is, so the object is already created. So where can I find the object? Suppose if I go for the XML file, if I go for the XML file, so yesterday we have extracted a jar file, right? So just try to go there and try to get the jar file. Look into the jar file of the project we are using. So dot jar only contains inside the core bundle. So just go inside core and then inside core target and try to look inside this jar. So now it has three things. So once if I go inside this OSGi INF, so I can see a lot of .xml files. Okay. So here if you observe, so Marvel details is one XML file, Marvel demo is also one XML file we are having here. So these are not a part of the previous version, but for the newer version of the model, so these two have been a part. So that is Marvel details.xml and Marvel demo.xml file. So how these files are generating? Okay, so with the help of this annotation, whenever we are deploying the bundle, okay, so at that time this happens when the activate method has been executed. Okay. So when the activate method has been executed, so here it will follow multiple things. Okay. So first thing is it will check all the Java classes, whatever the Java classes that are there. So it will check all the Java classes, and from the Java classes, it will try to get out the OSGi components. Okay. So it will try to get the OSGi components and OSGi services. So both the things it will filter. So after filtering the OSGi components and OSGi service, the second step what it will do is create an object for these OSGi components. So after that, what it will do? So it will create the object for these OSGi components. So now, whenever it is executing this OSGi components and OSGi services, so how it will filter? So in order to filter these OSGi components and OSGi services, so once after it gets these OSGi components and OSGi services, after it filters, so what it will do is, so this will register all the OSGi components and OSGi services. So for after that, it will register these OSGi components and OSGi services into the XML. Okay, so into XML based on one configuration. So how it is converting? So it is converting with the help of this at the rate component annotation. So whatever the .xml file we have seen, so that .xml file has been generated by this annotation, that is at the rate component is the annotation. So that at the rate component annotation has generated the .xml file. So if I try to open this .xml file, okay, so it contains the things. So if you observe here, so it is containing a name is equals to the name of the class, and then the immediate equals to true property we are having, and then it is calling the methods, whatever the lifecycle methods we are having. So at the rate activate is the method name is activate. So at the rate deactivate, the method name is deactivate. So at the rate modified, the method name is modified. So this is the XML configuration we are having, and then these methods will be executed. So how these methods will be executed? In the fourth step, after registering all the classes into after registering all the OSGi components and OSGi services into the bundle, so it will go for the fourth step, that is executing the service event methods. Okay. So in order to execute the service events methods, so how it will execute the service events method? To execute the methods, so these are an instance method. So in order to execute the method, we have to have an object, right? So without creating an object for the Java class, we cannot execute the methods of these classes. Okay. But if you observe here, an object has been already created. Okay. An object has been already created in the second step. So that's why it is executing the method. That's why it is executing the method of these classes. So without creating the object, so it cannot be executed. So that is the main thing we are having. So by defaultly, whenever we are creating the OSGi components and OSGi services, so they are a singleton Java classes. So what does it mean by the singleton Java classes? So this singleton Java classes are nothing but we can create only one object. Okay. So it is only possible to create one object for an Java class. So multiple objects cannot be created. So when it is a singleton Java class. So by defaultly, this OSGi components and OSGi service as a singleton Java class. So the and then we cannot create one more object for these classes. But if I come here inside this activate method, we are trying to create a new object. Okay, then at this case, it will work, but it will throw an issue during the long time run of the program or in the log files also. We can check for the issues. Okay, so we have, as it is a singleton Java class, we cannot create one more object for the Java class. So that means in this statement, it is not valid. So we cannot create an object for the Java class inside another component. Okay. So in order to use an existing object, because the object is already created, the only solution is we have to use the existing object. So how we can use the existing object? So here we are having one more annotation, that is at the rate reference. So with the help of this at the rate reference annotation, what we can do is we can call the existing object of an Java class. Okay. So existing object of an OSGI service. So if you want to call one OSGI in one OSGI component into another OSGI component where the object is already created. So then with the help of at the rate reference annotation, we can do that. So at the rate reference and then create an object for the class you are having. So private and then Marvel details and then object you have to create. So Marvel details is the object we have created. So now it is done. So with the help of the at rate reference annotation, you can call one OSGI service into an other OSGI service into another OSGI components. Okay, so both are synced. So now we have done right. So we'll try to deploy and we'll try to check. So whatever the data that this method is returning, so we'll assign the data the statement and then Marvel article and we'll try to print this data. So log dot info and then data from the Marvel details class. And so we have to put the data. So in order to write the logger files as well, we have two ways to write the logger files. So one is by using placeholder. So with the help of the placeholder, we can write a logger file. And second way is by using the so we also have one more way to create the logger file. So which is nothing but by using the plus operator. Here we can call malware article. Okay. So now this is by using the placeholder. The first way is by using the placeholder and second way is by using the plus operator. So it is so initially in Java, if you have remember, so we used to write the sysauth statements with the help of the plus operator only, right? So it will print the data which is inside the variable. But when it comes to AM, so it is not recommended to go or it is not recommended to write the logger files with the plus operator. So if we write this data, but it is not recommended to write with the plus operator. So every time when you are writing the logger files with the help of the placeholder only we can write the logger files and then inside the placeholder this is the placeholder we are having first placeholder. So the first placeholder value will be replaced by the first value we are specifying. Suppose if I have more than one, so then you can specify more than one placeholders and then more than one values as well we can specify. So this placeholder will be replaced by the value we are injecting. So save the changes and try to deploy it. Okay.
So don't we need to specify the index in the placeholder?
What
Index in the placeholder. Like
in
if
the
it placeholder,
okay in the placeholder?
don't we have to specify the index?
No, there is no need to specify the index. So just we can specify the value. So whatever the value that is there, so it will be on the first index only. Suppose if I'm having one more value, so in the second index automatically it will take. So here the first placeholder we are having, it will be replaced by the first value.
Okay, so
So there is an issue here. Fail to claim the target. So now in this case, if we go there, so if I try to check here, so when you are deploying, so it is showing only the inside the Marvel, inside the activate method of the Marvel details. Okay, but if you try to again check inside the Marvel demo, so we expect that this method should be executed, right? So now if I try to check again, so if I'm trying to checking for this method or whether this message should be available, because the bundle is in the active state and the project is also deployed. So but still the method is not executing when the bundle goes into the active state as well, because here we are having a missing dependency actually. So whenever we are using this, so if you want to use one OSGi components or one OSGi methods inside another OSGi method. So whatever the class which is giving the method, okay, so that method should be that class should be an OSGi service. So you can't use one component inside another component. So we have to make one thing as a service. So whenever we are making this class as an OSGi service, so then only we can use the method inside the Marvel demo class. So you have to make this Marvel details.java as an OSGi service, so then only this at the rate reference annotation will work, and then this activate method will be executed. So we have to create so we have to convert this normal OSGI component into an OSGI service. Okay, so how we can convert this component into an service? So inside this at the rate component annotation, so here we can pass one more parameter, which is nothing but service is the parameter we can pass. Okay, so inside this service, so I want to make this Marvel details as an service class. So then you have to process you have to pass the service parameter as the class name. Okay, so from here you can see that every OSGI service you are having, so every OSGI service is an OSGI component, because without at the rate component annotation we cannot convert this norm, we cannot convert the OSGI component into an OSGI service. So we can't create an OSGI service directly. So first we have to create that as a component, and then we can make that as an service. Okay. So you have to call the OSGI component, and then you have to make that component as an service. So you have to create an OSGI service in order to use the method inside an other OSGI components. Okay. So the methods which we want to use. So the method belonged class should be an OSGI service. So after changing it into an OSGI service, now try to deploy and check. So once after deploying, so now try to check the Marvel demo class. So now it is printing inside the activate method of Marvel details, inside the activate method of Marvel demo, and then it is printing the data from the Marvel details class, and this is the data that is replaced by the placeholders. Okay, so not only this one, suppose if you are having any external APIs, so if you want to hit any external APIs data, or if I want to write any functionalities, so then inside the custom methods of the OSGI class, we can do that. Okay, so inside the OSGI component, we can pass the data, and then we can hit the data, and then we can update other classes as well with the help of these OSGI services. So that is the major use of OSGI components and OSGI services. So, so any questions in it?